Aaron Heinzman here with D2Football.com. And we're talking with Washburn head football coach Craig Schurig today about the upcoming 2012 football season. A big season in the MIAA, a lot of changes happening. Coach, thanks for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Uh, let's start off with a little about you, Coach. You're entering now your 11th year at Washburn, 10 seasons under your belt. The program didn't have much success before you came around. Only one winning season in the last 13 years, I think, prior to you coming. But now you're up there in the top of the MIAA, contending for MIAA titles, playoff spots every year. What is it that's changed in the 10 years since you took over and the success has come that you like the most? What is it? Is there changes in administration, in the atmosphere at the games, in the community? What kind of things do you see that are different now?
Yeah, I think when we came in, and time does fly. When we came in, we were allowed to, build a good staff. My staff basically stayed together for 8 straight years. Same coaches, Lauren Ferre, our athletic director, and Dr. Jerry Farley, the president, provided us the ability to have some stability. We also, I think, as a model, our objective was, hey, we're gonna build it from the ground up. We're gonna recruit well and recruit mostly high school players to come in. It fits Washburn, the academics side, and bring guys in and then train them in your system, offensively, defensively, special teams, and then also strength and conditioning. Really work them hard in the weight room and the conditioning levels. And then you get them in your system for 4 or 5 years, and guys can get pretty good. And there's also some stability there. There's leadership passed on, and we didn't panic. We didn't try to come in and turn it around in a year or two, and just slowly built it. And in the meantime, too, we did some nice things with our facilities. When we first got here, the facilities were probably at the bottom of the conference, and now our whole conference has done a great job with that. But I'd say our facilities are as good as anybody's in the country, and from stadium to field to our strength and conditioning center, maybe one of the tops in the country at any level. And that's kind of where we put our bread and butter. Is we want to take good players. At the Division II level, every once in a while you'll get a great player right away, but those kids tend to go Division I. But we generally get good players, and we try to make them or help them to build themselves into great players. We've been fortunate that way, and we've had some kids with some really good work ethic that have gone on and played in the NFL. But I'd say overall, just the stability in our staff, hiring really good people, really good, strong guys on offense and defense, and sticking together, and not panicking any particular year. And then, once you kind of get it built up and you have some winning consistency, I think then the players kind of take hold of it. And I think each year over the last 5 or 6 years in particular, I think our senior classes have been as good as anybody. And when your senior class is as good as anybody else's senior class, you have a chance probably to win every game. I know, we haven't done that, but we've been in every game, and you really try to ride your seniors. And I think once you get your program like that, where you're counting on your seniors to be leaders, and they take on that responsibility, you have something that can be consistent year in and year out. And, we hope this next year, we lost a ton of really good seniors last year, but I really feel like our senior class coming in can be just as good. And, you hope that kind of optimism passes on to the team.
You talked a lot about your seniors, and one senior that you'll be missing this year is quarterback Dane Semino. And I know it's a new year, new team, but we have to mention him a little bit. What's it going to take for the guys competing at quarterback this fall? Mitch Bueller and Joel Piper, whoever it does end up being starting for you this fall. What's it going to take to replace a guy that was just that good for that long?
Yeah, that was you don't run into that too often where you have a quarterback quite that good. We've been blessed. We've had Jordan Brill, really good quarterback for us, and then Dane took over, and for 3 straight years, you're like, man, we're really solid at that position. Mitch will have the the opportunity. He learned last year. We kind of threw him in the fire a little bit as the backup, and Dane stayed healthy all season, but Mitch got some playing time, had a really good spring. But he kind of saw how Dane approached things and his poise and his leadership that he displayed on the field. So he got firsthand glimpse of that. Joel is really talented, played a little bit at Butler County. So he got some experience in, so it's not like he's coming in as a true freshman, and he'll be a sophomore. Very talented, strong arm, very good athlete, and as the spring went on, he really came on strong, so it should be a very good competition there. And the thing that will be a little different for us this year than the last few is that, we could actually start different guys as the season goes on. It just kind of depends on how we're playing. And in a particular game, I think with those two, with Joel and Mitch, they could share a game. We'll go into the game obviously with a starter and trying to ride him. But if things were slow for us on offense, I wouldn't hesitate to put the other guy in to see if it generates a spark. And then hopefully by mid-season, somebody has stepped up and the offense is really in a groove. And you have your true starter, but we could have a season where two guys are playing and hopefully they're very productive. Obviously, we'll want some other guys, running backs and receivers, tight ends to step up and take some of the pressure off the quarterback. But I do feel we'll have a good offensive line to keep things stable for that young quarterback. And even though both of them are sophomores, they haven't had experience much in the MIAA. So it'll be tough on them, but, they won't replace Dane's stats, but, hopefully they give us a chance to win when we're in the fourth quarter and they make good decisions.
Whoever it is that gets them snaps under center in game one won't have much of a chance for a learning curve. You go right at it with a new team in the MIAA, Nebraska at Kearney. That's a playoff team from a year ago, only one regular season loss. It should be a heck of a game there in Topeka, week one. Talk to me about the expansion of the MIAA. Did the conference make the right move in expanding to such a large number? So what was going to be 16, but will now end up being 14?
I think one of the things when you looked at how things were going, brief history, you see the old North Central Conference, which at one time was probably the strongest conference in Division II, and through teams going to Division I and other teams leaving, it basically blew up. And then you don't have the North Central Conference, which when I first started coaching in Division II, it was the strength of Division II. I mean, from top to bottom. The MIAA kind of put itself right up to the North Central, and then when we brought in Nebraska Omaha, I think top to bottom, the MIAA for sure was probably one of the strongest conferences in the country, and then very surprisingly, Omaha leads, and so I think the presidents did a good job in the sense that they realized, hey, anything can happen if you go from 12 teams to 16 teams now. If a team leaves or you have something happen, there's some stability there. And now Nebraska Kearney in particular, to me, they're just like Omaha, Nebraska Omaha. I mean, they're a very solid program in all sports, and they add a lot, to the football landscape of the MIAA. I mean, they're a playoff team that we're bringing into the conference. So you lose. In my mindset, it's always been when we've added them, hey, we lost Omaha, we're bringing in Kearney. It's pretty much an even swap there, and they fit right in. There's old rivalry there from years ago in the CSIC, and so those kind of games will be good. Now we're going to be losing Truman, and part of it was the expansion, so that's too bad. I mean, Truman State, one of the flagship schools of the MIAA, an original member, and it's too bad that they decided to leave, but, schools have to do what's best for them. But I'm sure that we didn't want to lose, MIAA didn't want to lose a school like Truman State. But there is some, with the additional schools, if teams leave, there's still, you still have plenty of teams for a conference.
Yeah, you bring up that great point. It almost came at the perfect time. Expansion did, as UNO leaves last year. Now Truman announces they're leaving. One thing that does do though for teams It doesn't affect you this year and then one game next year, but in 2014 and 2015, all of a sudden, with the MIAA scheduling their football games out 5 years in advance, you've got two open dates to fill now in 2014 and 2015. How important is it to get those weeks filled with non-conference games, and what kind of competition are you looking for?
Yeah, it is going to be tough, and you know, when Truman left, it kind of put a hole in some people's schedule, and obviously there could be some changes before we get to 2014, 2015 schedule. But when you have an open date more in the middle of your schedule, obviously that's going to be tough. We've always taken the stance. We'll play anybody. Obviously, you want to try to get a home game if you can. We've had some really good non-conference games since we've been at Washburn. We played Chagrin one year with Woodhead there. We got to see him run all over us. But we played Abilene Christian in the non-conference. We played Missouri State in non-conference. So we've had some really good teams that have come in, Western Washington, Central Washington. So we'll try to schedule those I like scheduling good opponents. We played Sioux Falls last year. Teams that, you can judge how good you are by playing them. Now, the landscape of scheduling has changed. Other conferences have gotten big, and there's agreements between conferences playing non-conference games. So scheduling is going to be tough. We would schedule a 1AA opponent if we could, but it is, that was one of the advantages when you have more teams than you can schedule. One of the models of our conference has been you play all conference games, and so there's no telling what can happen before 2014. But if we are left with two open dates, hopefully we can do a good job and schedule two good opponents. I think our players like that. I know as coaches we like scheduling, good solid opponents, whether it's home or away. It really, makes it fun for everybody.
Yeah, you're right. That's a little ways in the future. A lot can happen before then. Back to this year, you've got all 11 games in conference scheduled for this year. When you look forward to this year, what is one thing that you know for a fact you need to improve on in order to compete this year in the MIAA? And I'm not going to let you say punt returns because I know you were 148th out of 150 teams last year. But let's go anything other than that.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest thing would be our secondary play. We had some things happen with our secondary right before the season started last year, and I thought our coaches did a really nice job, and some kids stepped in and played, and they really played well for being out of position in some instances. But we had some young guys that we redshirted. They had very good springs. We have a couple kids that were injured from last year that should be healthy now. But I would say the biggest improvement would be our secondary play. The way that football is now, and even in our conference, it generally is a pretty physical conference. Teams throw the ball very well, and that was an area when we let some quarterbacks get hot against us last year, and we couldn't stop them. Northwest exploited us. Central Missouri exploited us, and then in our playoff win, Abilene, really in the second half threw the ball extremely well. And you just can't let that happen. You can't let a quarterback feel like he can complete, anything and really get matchups on you. So I would think our secondary will be much improved. And we have some good depth, some good young players that I anticipate really competing hard. And we'll play multiple guys, but I think our overall play and performance will be much better in the secondary.
Coach, the preseason polls due out here in the incoming weeks as they're just a couple months away from football season. Obviously you can't vote for yourself. Who do you put as number one in the MIAA?
It's going to be funny this year in the MIAA because you always kind of go with, the team that did the best last year, and that was Pittsburgh, and they had some really good seniors, but I'm sure they return a lot. But we don't play them. We don't play them or Central. So in both those teams could be very good. So I would say, Northwest and Missouri Western are two schools that we play, and I would see them being very good. this coming season.